What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of review for Takt Destiny. This is episode 12, also the last episode of the season. And with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
Mm-hmm. So we actually do have some clarification as to why the main villain of this show is doing what he's doing. Is because he's pretty much driven into despair after the number of years he's had to fight the D2s and the number of losses he had to witness while fighting in that war. So he pretty much got driven mad with grief after all those battles. So he decided to take it upon himself to take drastic measures to destroy all the D2s in the world, while in the process destroying the entire country in the process.
I feel like this explanation comes way too late, his whole backstory. They should have gone over this much earlier in the series. I don't really I don't know why they just decided to do this at the last minute, because we don't really, we're really not given much of a reason to care about why he's doing the things he's doing. At least they try to explain it, but like I said, it just feels too late. Like, they should have done this earlier in the series for us to really, get invested or, even care about what he's trying to do here. Also, I had a thought about, when we see the flashbacks with him and, the war on the D2s, and I thought about, I also realized this is another big problem I have with this series is that I don't know if you have the same opinion, but it feels like if they took the music aspect out of it, not much would change. Because really think about it, how much are they really utilizing the whole music angle of what's going, the series? It feels like if they switched it out with something else, not much would be different at all. Because it just doesn't really feel like they're really taking full advantage of that. Because if you see in the flashbacks, all the soldiers, they're just using conventional weaponry on the D2s, like guns. And I know it sounds silly, but why wouldn't they be using instruments or something or actual music to fight them off? Because we know that music affects the D2s. I guess conventional weaponry does too, but why are they just using conventional weapons and not actually using instruments or something like that?
It's just,
if the show is just kind of centered around this. Yeah.
I would assume music helps support the music arts to give them strength. Fight against the D2s, but it's just they have to use a lot of different conventional weaponry to fight the D2s at the same time. So
sure,
and we don't even know how many music arts even exist around the world, nor how many are even available to even fight the D2s in the process.
Well, we did see some of that in the flashbacks, but we never, of course, get properly introduced to any of these music arts. We just see that there are other music arts, but we maybe only know of maybe 4 or so throughout the entire, throughout the whole series, I guess. But
4 or 5 or 6 of them at least, but we're just not properly introduced to all the other characters, nor do we know all the other conductors that are with the music arts.
Yeah, the only conductor we really see fighting is Sagan and his flashback. I don't know. I guess my point is just that I feel like the music in the series feels more like a throwaway element, and it doesn't. That was one of the things they were trying to sell it on, but it doesn't really feel like they really take full advantage of that. Even in this episode, not just in the flashbacks, but also in the episode in of itself, because we don't really have Takt really providing support for Destiny through music or anything. It's just more of your typical anime, shonen anime fight between Destiny and I guess Hell and Heaven combined or whatever.
Or Orpheus.
Yeah, right, yeah. But he's not really supporting her through music or anything. And this is another thing that can kind of confuse me, is because we've established before that Destiny is weakened without Takt really providing her any kind of support. How is she able to fight Orpheus the way she does in this episode without Takt's support? Because as we know, Takt goes off to face Sagan, and he isn't there to actually support her through music or anything like that. So I was kind of I was kind of confused about that. Like, how is she able to like to fight her like evenly
Not
without?
not not to mention that Orpheus is able to regenerate from all of her wounds like so
Yeah.
easily, including the fact that she got blown in half, near the end of that fight, and then just regenerates her entire body afterwards.
Hmm. Um. Yeah, but like parts of this episode we see the flashbacks with Sagan, and then the rest of it is like this fight between Destiny and Orpheus, which is a pretty well animated scene, I will say. Like, it looks good, but at the same time, I seriously, like, this is kind of how I felt throughout the whole series, and especially in this episode. I At some point I just really stopped caring, and I just wanted it to be over. To be honest, like, I really just stopped caring about what was happening because the show really hasn't given me any reason to really care about what's going on. Um, and this last episode doesn't really do anything more to convince me that I should care.
Hmm.
Um, Also, like, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was like a part in that fight. Like, I could have sworn I saw this exact moment for another show. I just don't remember which one it was, where they like both punch each other. I don't remember where I've seen that from. I know I've seen that exact scene before. Like, I feel like they ripped it from some other series, but I'm
I
forgetting
mean
what it was.
I've seen like the simultaneous punches to the face in
Yeah,
many different shows, but I
yeah,
wouldn't I wouldn't really know which one
yeah. I
you're
don't know.
really talking about, but unless if
It just
it's
felt
another
very
map.
familiar, I guess. Like, I could have, like I said, I could have sworn I saw it in another series, but it felt like I've seen that exact scene before.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I've seen it in many other shows before, like not that one. It's My Hero Academia. There's like also, uh, God, I think it may be 2 or 3 other shows that do something similar like that. But yeah,
yeah.
they do the exact same, like punching each other in the face sort of deal thing. But yeah, so Destiny manages to beat Orpheus just enough so she can't regenerate anymore, and so she finally joins up with Takt to finally finish off Sagan, with her weapon, pretty much destroying the crystal and stopping the D2s in the process. And by the end of it,
Yeah.
see them washed up somewhere on the beach or something, and then, well, with both of them just
Okay.
totally-
How did they get there? Like, I
I
was confused about that. Like,
I
how
I honestly, it's just like I don't even know how they even got there in the first place. But
yeah.
it just, I mean, we can clearly see them. They're just both, physically exhausted from everything they had to go through. And well, Tag in particular, he's like literally in a dying state with most of his face, decaying and his hair just whitening up.
Mhm.
So, and we have this supposedly have this final conversation with them, with Tact, saying that, one day that he'll be able to finally finish his song that he was writing. I mean, we don't even know what kind of song that he was trying to write, so it's left up in the air. And then soon afterwards, Tact suddenly just loses consciousness, and Destiny
Oh, okay.
ends up
I
disappearing,
thought
but
he was
not
dead.
before.
I'll be honest with you. I thought he was dead. Like, I was like surprised because I was like, well, they actually took a bit of a risk. I didn't think they'd actually kill him off, honestly. But of course, we find out he's not actually dead. But I thought for a second, I was like, well, that's one thing I could actually give the show credit for. But they don't take the risk, unfortunately. They yeah, but and then like you were gonna say, yeah, she basically, like, I guess confesses to him as well and like kisses him like after he loses consciousness. Um and like, I'm so confused about like the relationships in the show because like his relationship with Anna, I was fairly certain it was more of a sibling like relationship, and then we find out all of a sudden that it wasn't. And here, like, we find this turns it into also like a romantic sort of thing, which it would have made more sense because it felt like this relationship with Tact and Destiny was built more on maybe being a potential romantic relationship instead of her, him and Anna. So it's just confusing. Like, I'm thinking, like, is this some kind of a love triangle or something, or like, I don't know what they were going for with this.
Yeah.
But
And then soon afterwards, Tack's body is recovered, uh, by Lot and most of the other members of the Symphonica, and Yeah, like you said, he's barely alive, but the last thing we see him with is like a pendant in his hand, which we could
Mhm.
assume that's it would have like parts of Destiny's essence or something.
Yeah, yeah, she turns into this pendant, and like the scene really before this made me. What also made me think he was dead was because, like, when he, well, I guess, loses consciousness, he sees Cassette, and I thought he was in the afterlife or something. I thought what it was implying was that he was walking off with her, and they were in the afterlife, but no, he was just lost consciousness. But yeah, so after they find Takt, they do a time skip. How many years did they like jump?
I would say several months, and
Okay,
uh,
it's months. Okay, I wasn't
yeah, so
sure.
it's the same year, but near Christmas time, and
Okay.
basically, well, it's basically the world is basically the same as it always was, with D2 still, you know, causing havoc around the country, and then the Symphonica trying to rebuild their headquarters, and then we see Anna now as a member of the Symphonica working alongside her sister and Titan, helping to. I guess they're still trying to help out Tact and trying to like stabilize his body, I guess. And then
Yeah,
and
we
then of
never
course,
actually see Takt either after this.
yeah, there is a post credit scene. I don't know if you saw that
I
part.
saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the final scene shows with Anna walking off, which maybe I'm guessing he's going to see Tact, and then we see a transition into like Destiny walking into a hallway of light, which what we could assume that she's walking towards Tact somewhere, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's how it ends, I guess. I mean, it seems like they were kind of leaving things open for a potential continuation, but I mean, really, who's going to be asking for that at this point is my question. Like, um, I did kind of look at some of the reviews of this, and some people seem to echo my sentiments about the show. Is that it's just kind of a waste of time. um,
I
it sucks because it did start off, I think, kind of promising, but it just ended up going nowhere, in my opinion.
and I mean, I would have loved it if they would have made this into a second core series, but
Yeah, it felt like it kind
but
of needed a little bit more time.
I think I don't know if it has something to do with Mappa being flooded with all these different projects that they have to work on next year.
Hmm.
It's like what they have Attack on Titan, the final season. They have Chainsaw Man, and then they have this new anime that they're working on called Hell's. I forgot what it was called. It's
I think it was Hell's Paradise.
Hell's Paradise.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the likelihood of us even seeing like a sequel or continuation of Tac Op is uh pretty low at this point.
Highly doubt it'll happen, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they even decided to do a continuation and maybe resolve some of the plot holes that they haven't even resolved in this show, for one thing. But unless I don't know, I really feel like maybe this might be there might be a continuation in that TACOP mobile game or something. I don't know.
I mean, this was just basically made to advertise the mobile game. Um, so it
That's
might be how they continue it.
that's what I'm assuming. But yeah, it's that TACOP. It looks beautiful animation wise, but the
Hmm.
story and its pacing kind of got derailed like literally halfway through the show, and its concept of using music as a weapon is just basically a non-factor near the
It
end.
feels underutilized, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it really felt like I thought about this more, and I felt like you could take the music aspect out of the show, and not too much would have changed. You just substitute it with something else, and it would have been more or less the same.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I just don't feel like they really take full advantage of that aspect of the series. Um, so basically, yeah, it's a good looking show. That's really what it has going for it. But is that really enough to warrant watching the series? I would say no. The characters, it felt like at a point they did try to develop them a little bit, but it just ultimately, like, it doesn't really amount to much of anything. Like, that they're still fairly one dimensional. The only character that I really felt like I would agree with some reviews that basically say Lenny was a character that could have been better, or had potential to be pretty good, and they actually developed him a little bit. I actually cared a little bit more about him than any of the other characters, because it felt that they kind of added, it felt like he was just a more interesting character, and he would have worked as like somebody pointed out, like a mentor character to Takt. But it's just he kind of disappears not too long after he gets introduced, so it's just like they don't really end up doing that with him. But that I felt like that would have worked. But the story too is just kind of, I don't know. It starts out as it's kind of like a road trip, and it just takes so long for us to get a handle on like who the villains are and what they're trying to do. And I felt like that's something they should have started out with. They should have made it clear what their plans are, what they want, instead of just waiting till really like the last minute to tell us what their plans, their motivations are. Because at that point, we just don't really care anymore. I don't know. It's just a combination of those things that really makes the show, in my opinion, kind of forgettable. So I guess if I were to give this a number rating, I was thinking at first I'd give it a 5, but I honestly give it a 4, just because I really feel like the only thing it really has is the animation. And even then, we don't really get that much of it. Like, there are episodes where there aren't really that many fight scenes at all, and we don't really get to see much of the great animation or anything like that. So even just for that, I don't know if it's really worth it to sit through the series. So I don't know. I just ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a show that I wouldn't really want to go back and rewatch or anything like that. I don't really have too much else to say about the show.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a little bit more from this, to be honest. And where the show is going to go from here, I mean, it's anyone's guess right now. I mean, I'd be surprised if Mappa will even have the time to make a continue. Well, not just Mappa and Madhouse collaborated on this show. So I would be surprised if they were to come back together and make a sequel series, or maybe make a movie continuation or something. But it's just the overall. Like, overall, the way they handled the storyline, just the pacing was all, just kind of went off the rails by, I would say, the second half of the show.
Yeah, the pacing was an issue too. I should also bring that up. The show definitely has problems in that regard. And then of course near the end, it just felt like it really just kind of rushed everything, just to get to a conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, the animation was okay, but I really wish they could have done better with its plot. And where it's gonna go from here, it's anyone's guess, because I really think like there's some plot elements that could warrant a sequel, but it just depends on how they're gonna treat the story moving forward, if they ever decide to make a sequel of this.
Yeah, I mean, if they did make a sequel, like I said, it would probably just be to advertise the game some more, most likely, and not just because they want to follow up with the show. But yeah, I don't know. The show, it had, like I said, it had a strong start, but it just couldn't really. It just didn't really do anything interesting after the first couple episodes. It felt like it really fell off. And it just ultimately didn't amount to much. It was pretty hyped because of the great animation, but like I said, that's really the only thing the show has going for it. And that doesn't really make a great show. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode and the show in general. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I mean, I don't know. It's like I mean, we'll see where Mappa goes from here. But with them working with a lot of other projects, I mean, I don't know, like how I would really treat this project. I mean, it'd be cruel for me to even say this is more of a throwaway project for Mappa, but it's like I really feel like it could have done a little bit better with their plot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not memorable, really. Like, it's just, you know, you watch it and you probably won't watch it again. Like, honestly, like that's how I felt. But
Mhm.
yeah. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.